late night video, and we are going to be going over Chris Grier's presser. Lots of things to get into, so let's jump into it. What is up, Finn fans? Chris Grier earlier today met with the media, kind of a pre-draft meeting. Didn't talk much about the draft, but we're gonna go over it. I'm gonna like skim through the transcript and kind of pinpoint things that I thought were interesting. I'm not gonna talk about everything, but there are some things interesting in there that I want to discuss, devolve, all that stuff. But real quick, before we jump into that, I do have to shout out today's sponsor, and that is Exter. And you might be asking yourself, what is Exter? Well, Exter makes these sleek wallets, these really sleek, good wallets that have an RFID protection in them. Essentially what an RFID protection is it helps from other people being able to hack your credit cards and all that stuff in there. Now, I really like and enjoy the sleek black one, and that's the one I use. Obviously, you can see my cards are in there. Holds up to 12 cards. Now, the Parliament wallet is the one that holds up to 12 cards. It's a leather wallet, very beautiful. Again, I'm a big fan of this sleek black one. Also, what they have is they have the card tracker that I have attached to the back. And the way this works is you can use it with iOS, with Android, with all these different things, and you can pull it up and it will use on your phone. So on my phone, my iPhone, I use, Find My, and then I put it in there and it can tell you exactly pinpoint where it is. Or if you're lost, if it's lost in your house somewhere and you can't find it, you just hit the play sound and you can very easily find it in your house somewhere. Very, very cool. Very, very great product. Go check them out. Use the promo code Dougley and you can get yourself an additional 10% savings. So enjoy up to 30% off until May 19th. And again, use my promo code Dougley at checkout to get an additional 10% savings. The link is in the description. Go check it out. And Exter, thank you so much for sponsoring this video. So now let's jump into this Mama Jam and let's talk about the presser. Was it a depressor? Possibly. Now, earlier today, I had the Dolphin Collective with TD, with Omar, and with Alan. Omar and Alan Poupart were able to ask them questions, Alan being there, both of them being there, and ask some really good questions. So shout out to my guys, Alan and Omar. So let's jump into this. Now, he made an opening statement. I'm going to go through it quickly, right? Obviously, the Jalen Ramsey situation happened. So he says, first, good afternoon, but wanted to address, obviously, the news that people are curious about with Jalen Ramsey. So really, after a couple of weeks of discussion between ourselves internally and Jalen and his representation, we decided it was probably in the best interest of the parties to move forward. I will say the decisions aren't done quickly and they're not taken lightly because we spent a lot of time this offseason working through this, talking through things. At the end of the day, Jalen did not ask for a trade. So we went through the process and just felt that after numerous conversations that talking last week with Jalen and his agent, that it was best to move forward and it's the best interest of the Dolphins and for Jalen. So that's the first thing he said, and that's the first thing that you're like, huh? So he's saying Jalen Ramsey did not ask for a trade. Yet, after having discussions, they've come to the understanding that it's in best interest of both parties that they trade Jalen Ramsey. Why? What happened? There's a lot of big, fat, ugly question marks of why. Why do you want to trade him, right? If you're trying to win now, if it's all or nothing, again, hot seat, I talked about it. I talked about it in the Jalen Ramsey trade video earlier today. I talked about it last Saturday, and are they actually on the hot seat? Why are you trading your best corner? What is happening behind the scenes, right? So do you expect to trade Ramsey before the draft for picks? He says, I don't know. Trades come together at all different times. You've seen from before the draft, day of the draft, during the draft. I think AJ Brown was during the draft when it happened. So when it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, we'll deal with it then. I will be shocked, honestly, like full-fledged 1,000,000% shocked if they trade him before or during the draft, because of the amount of money that they will lose in that transaction. I honestly think this is going to be a post-June 1st trade, and they will save $5 million, yada, yada. So I really doubt he will be traded. Why did you decide not to restructure Tua's contract? He said, we decided we felt we didn't need to. I think James Daniels is a player we're very happy to get. We still walk through things roster-wise. And with the draft approaching, I would say the strength of the draft this year aligns with our needs, where people would say our needs are. So for the perspective, we just felt that there's no need to restructure Tua and touch the contract that could operate and keep building the team, and the whole process will continue through the draft like it's always done until June 1st designations and all of that. And we've done that throughout the years here. So essentially saying is we didn't touch Tua's contract because we don't feel like we need to. I think they have $17 million in cap space, give or take. So we don't need to touch it because going into the draft, there is potential. You know, we have needs at offensive line. There's a ton of offensive line talent. We have a ton of needs at defensive line. Go check out earlier today's video. Again, this is my third video in the day. Earlier today's video where I talk about the draft needs, and I put defensive tackle number 1, and I put corner number 2, and now you see why I put corner number 2. And deep in defensive tackle. And then he's obviously talking about after the draft, post-June 1st cuts will happen and more people might become readily available. So they're not touching to his contract because they don't feel like they need to. Also, because they don't think they want to be strung or stuck with him. We've already talked about that. Did Jalen want a salary adjustment? He said no, he did not. So if you didn't ask for a trade and he didn't want more money, why is this happening? Very, very, very good question. Really, those discussions I'll keep internally. I'm not going to go out there and talk about it, but we had a lot of discussions on it from both sides, and at the end of the day, we felt it was best for the Dolphins or for Ramsey. So a big fat nothing. No answer there. Moving off from Jalen Ramsey, how recently did this come about? It doesn't seem like just based off of free agency that you're moving off of the idea. So essentially, this person asked, when did this happen? Because in free agency, you guys didn't go after many corners. You got Artie Burns. So when did this happen? Why all of a sudden now? When you're talking through the offseason and all these conversations are happening throughout the offseason, you're still working, you're trying to prepare for scenarios. Again, this was a long discussion, many discussions, I would say, throughout the offseason. So this wasn't anything we rushed to and just said today, let's do this. I think essentially what happened was they probably trying to keep him on the roster, and he probably was like, nah, I don't want to be on the roster anymore. I don't like the direction the team's going and yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. So I'm ready to move on. And I think, honestly, that's what happened. Are you optimistic that Ramsey can be on the team in 2025? I don't know. I think at the end of the day, like I said, we're talking to teams. I've had discussion with teams, and we'll see where it all falls. I honestly think there are teams out there that want Jalen Ramsey. I think there are teams out there, and again, we talked about this on the Dolphin Collective, but you got teams like Minnesota, you got teams like Arizona, you got teams like Tampa Bay, you got teams that could use Jalen Ramsey. I think what is happening is the Dolphins are like, we'll talk to you after June 1st. Or they're like, listen, we'll take a 5th, but you need to help us with the cap situation. I think that's a big part of what's happening. Is he unhappy schematically or how he's used? Is that part of the equation? He says, I'm not going to speak on Jalen Ramsey and coaches, so it's just a lot of discussion that we're having, blah, 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 a lot of nonsense. And again, you know, he talks about the last time we talked to you, Tyreek Hill. Is he being traded? This is nothing that we're pursuing. Like I said, who knows? If someone wants to come give me 2 first-round picks, then we'll consider it. But as of right now, that's nothing we're pursuing. Again, it's another situation where it's going to have to be a post-June 1st situation if he is traded. Has anyone called about the possibility of trading for Hill? He said no. If your conversation with chairman of the board, Stephen Ross, not just about Hill, but certainly include his conversations, including Jalen Ramsey and the state of the team, what's his mindset? How would you describe it? How hopeful can he be going into 2025? Which is a fantastic question because this man doesn't want to be a part of another rebuild. None of us do. And this seems like a rebuild. I'm not going to speak for Stephen Ross, but obviously when you do a lot of moves like this, he's aware, he's involved in the discussion and this. So he's supportive of what we do, and he leaves those football decisions up to us. So he's aware of it, and he's fine with it. How much of an effort was made to re-sign Calais Campbell? Was it purely financial that he went to Arizona? We talked to his agent a couple times throughout the spring, this offseason. We made him an offer, and ultimately he decided to go play for the team that drafted him. I honestly think that it's at the end of the day, he wanted to go back where he started. I think, and Omar said something, again, go watch the Dolphin Collective episode from today. Omar said something really good. He's probably not going to be on the Arizona Cardinals come the end of the season. He's probably going to get traded. So he can win a Super Bowl. With Campbell departing, Armstead retiring, and now Ramsey, would you at least label this as a soft rebuild or reset? Let me drink some water so I can give you a clear answer to this. He says, no. The words have not been brought up at all. We have a lot of really good football players on this roster, still some places that impact games. That word has not been used at all. Our goal is to win this year, and keep winning for sustained success in the future. How do you plan on winning if you have no corner, if you have one defensive lineman, you have no left guard? How? Where? Explain that to me, please. Please. Going off of the previous question, that's multiple captains. It's more than 30 years. I don't know the exact number of NFL experience. Are you confident that you have leaders in place to achieve desired results in 2025? He goes, yeah, that's a good question. We do. And some of the players we added are quality human beings and players that have been leaders on other teams. But I do think in-house we have guys like Sealer, just to name a few. You have Tyreek, Waddle, Ingold, Austin Jackson. The offensive line loves him. These guys, they lead differently. They're quiet guys in how they do it by example and stuff, so we can so we feel comfortable. They know the expectations are, as we talked about at the end of the season press conference. Mike McDaniel addressed that in what he told the team, and so Mike and leaders on the team have been meeting all throughout the offseason talking about things. He did not mention Tua, and it's not even like, it was, and the quarterbacks, yada, yada, and we'll get to Tua because I think he does address Tua. He didn't mention Tua as a leader, and, people who don't like Tua are going to be like, and people who do like Tua are going to be like, it's a big nothing burger. I'm kind of in the middle, right? Because I think it's interesting that he talks about not picking up Tua's contract. Well, not picking up his contract, but essentially not exercising the 19.1 million, which is a ton of money they can use for a ton of players. And then he doesn't name him as a leader of the team. He names Tyreek Hill. Do you consider Tyreek Hill a leader? Now, again, I will say this. That doesn't mean that Tua isn't a leader in the locker room. That doesn't mean Tua doesn't have the eyes and the ears of the football team. That doesn't mean that at all. I think this is a lot of Chris Grier talking out of his tuchus, because you're going to come out here and name captains, or you're going to name leaders in this team, and the first name you name besides Zach Sealer, who is a leader, is Tyreek Hill, who quit on his team in the last game of the season and then said, deuces, I'm out. That's the first name you're going to name. And that's where, him not naming Tua, I'm like, it is what it is. It's interesting, and I can see why people are perking up about that, but I'm also not looking too far into it, because your first offensive guy you name is Tyreek Hill, who quit on the team. Really? What's your response of Stephen Ross' response has been to the recent domestic abuse of Tyreek Hill? He says, I would say our statement, when it was released, would probably cover it. It's a big old nothing burger of a question there. Did Stephen want you to pull back on spending this year? And this is a very interesting question, because I think a lot of us are scratching our heads. It was pretty clear you did not participate in the high end of free agency, obviously, other than James Daniels' contract. And James Daniels' contract, again, is a one-year contract. No, Steve has never given that. Steven wants to win like we all do. He's a fantastic owner that wants to do and wants badly for Miami Dolphins to win, as we all do. For us in a salary cap era, you just can't keep with your high-end prices. I'm about to sneeze. I'm trying to fight it so I don't have to cut this. And the downside of that is I just sneezed about 7 times, and I'm going to have to sneeze again. Allergies. So somebody asks, with the apparent need at corner, guard, and now defensive tackle to Phil, are you going to have to address best player, blah, blah, blah? He says, yes, it's always a balance with that because sometimes the best player is a need. Sometimes, like we've talked about in the past, I've said J.J. Watt, we had a defensive player. If he's there, are you going to pass on him? But for us, the draft kind of aligned with the positions of need for us that people perceive and what and what's on our roster right now. For us, we think at 13, there will be good players there that will probably NFL ready players, but will also fill a need. If we choose to stay there, we'll have options. If we move around, we'll take advantage of that as well. So he's leaving it open for a possible trade down, but also obviously his mindset is we have so many needs in so many areas. If we stay pat at 13, we could take anybody and it will fill a need, whether it's Will Johnson, whether it's Grant, whether it's whoever, even though you have to fear reaching in some instances. So deal with that. This question I thought was interesting. They essentially asked him, you have Tyreek Hill saying I'm out. You have Jalen Ramsey now, able to get a trade. Is there in-house trouble and all that stuff? Essentially talking about the culture of the Miami Dolphins. I would say for people that judge, I would say wildly inaccurate, but that's for me. I think Tyreek Hill has shown that he clarified that he has been here in the building almost every day of the offseason, working incredibly hard. He's been in touch with Robert Prince, the new wide receivers coach, pretty much every day. He's been working and doing all the things to show his teammates that he is where he wants to be. As I told you when we met him after the season, he wanted to be here. There's no indication otherwise. He's been in this building. Talking about Tyreek Hill, you guys have seen moves like that happen. So they happen for all various reasons, and people talk about them obviously because they're between the players and the team. But no, there's no internal conversation where players are trying to get out of here, and it's still, I think, the other way because people want to come back here, and a lot of people that we did not bring back. So essentially he's saying, look at Tyreek Hill. He's a prime example. He said he wants to go and eat somewhere, and obviously we talk to him, and he's here every day, and blah, 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 blah. And it's contrary to what you guys think because you hear people want to leave, but we're actually hearing people want to come here. And I respond with, who? You really didn't bring much in. You really didn't bring much in. They ask about the safeties. Someone says, is your thinking with Fatu Melifonwu, Ashton Davis, Patrick McMorris, and Elijah Campbell that your 2 starting safeties are in the building? He said, yes. We feel good about those 3, and Elijah Campbell as well is back. So we feel like we have depth there. But we'll keep looking to add as well as we will to every position. It's a very diplomatic answer, but no, man. Sure, they're starters. Fatu Melifonwu and Ashton Davis could be starters, but they're not. They're not what will win you games, and that's the problem. That is the problem. McDaniel mentioned at the end of the season about discipline accountability. Some of the guys have mentioned that too. Now we have Tyreek Hill and what's going on with Ramsey. Talks about the culture again. He says, when people are studying culture and talking about it, it's always interesting because you take snippets of what one person says and you never know what people have going on. We feel like it is. We feel good where it is. Like I said, McDaniel, when he first came here, had his way of how he wanted to do things, and this has been a steady build of doing it the way it was done. Omar Kelly brought something up really interesting. And in 2023, they looked like they were having fun. Every time they scored touchdowns, every time plays happened, they did the, I was gonna say first roller coaster stuff. They did the surfing. They did all of these things. Like they had these fun touchdown celebrations. Whereas last season it was, I think they had the one where Jalen Waddle arrested Tyreek Hill, but outside of that, they had to deal with Tyreek Hill being arrested, and then Tua getting hurt, and then another person getting hurt. It was a very morbid season. So it's like, are they going to try to change the culture, and how much of that culture change is going to affect the team, which is going to be interesting. They asked him about Patrick Paul. Is he the starter? He says, in terms of Patrick Paul, yes, he will be our starter at left tackle, get the first crack at doing it. We signed Larry Borum, and we felt really good about why. We really like him in free agency, and Liam Eichenberg will come in and provide swing versatility, and he'll compete for a job. He's not promised anything, and he knows that going in competition for it. You guys know how I feel about Liam Eichenberg and the fact that they brought him back. I made a whole video about it, but geez Louise, oh my goodness. So somebody asked, with more needs than usual heading into this draft, would you be more willing than normal to entertain the idea or looking for the idea of trading down to accumulate more picks? He said, yes, definitely. Definitely open to moving around in the draft, but also if the opportunity arises to get a really good player, I would be open to figuring out a way to get them, to go get them too as well. We do have needs, but I think you guys would even say that there's more good street free agents on the street now than there has been in a long time. It seems like a lot of veterans are waiting until after the draft to see where they're going to go. So again, there are opportunities just to keep building the roster. And again, I talked to you guys, and this is why I ranked my needs earlier today with D-line and all that stuff. And I talked to you guys about potential free agents that are out there that could definitely help the Dolphins. Somebody asked this question, and there's a sound clip of this going around Twitter, but someone said, obviously Stephen Ross, almost right after the season ended last year, comes out with a statement saying that you guys will be back. And there is this line in there where he said, I'm not satisfied with the status quo. I might be paraphrasing a bit, but has he issued any kind of ultimatum to you or head coach Mike McDaniel that you need to achieve X? If not, I will find somebody that will this year. So essentially saying, get it done or you're fired. He says, no, but listen, Mike McDaniel and I want to win probably more than you guys in here just so you get off our backs. And then he laughs. You're more worried about the offensive line than we are, but just flipped it around. At the end of the day, like I said, it's the NFL. To me, the crazy thing is when you hear some of the really good head coaches in the league that have won all the time and people calling for them to get fired after a season. It's just the nature of the beast. The NFL is one of the most popular leagues in the world, and you understand that. At the end of the day, you just have to work and try to drown out the noise. He knows about the noise, and I'm going to find the clip or the quote here. When you say everyone wants us fired, how are you aware of that? Are you social media, or do people in the building tell you that? Your wife? What makes you say that? I'm just asking, do you read it yourself or do people tell you? And this is where Omar Kelly got in trouble. He says, no, I don't read anything. I don't have anything. My wife has a good friend that they go out and she comes home and she's like, oh my God, that Omar Kelly said so many mean things about you. And I'm like, that's all right. He doesn't like me anyway. Oh, if you didn't watch the Dolphin Collective earlier today, we were busting Omar's balls about that. He goes, no, I'm just kidding, Omar. So you're aware. Listen, it's the digital age where everything is on everyone's phone and everyone has an opinion on stuff. And I love fans. I'll end it on this. It was hilarious. I got this package that comes, so I opened it, and it's a nice letter. It's like, Chris, hey, keep doing what you're doing. Wish you guys all the best. You and Mike, a long fan. And then I pull out there's a shirt in it, and I'm like, oh, I open it up and it says, don't F this up. Again, I appreciate the fans. I love the passion of the Dolphins. We want to win as much as they do, and we understand it. Again, we're trying to win. That's what it's all about. So we're going to keep doing the best we can. I find it funny that he went after Omar. He didn't go after Omar, but he was like, Omar hates me. Yeah. Yeah. They know. They feel it. Because it's a huge majority of us that are like, why did he come back? Because again, he's had 9 years to do this. Is it 9 years? Yeah. So it's like, come on. Someone asked about the corners situation again because Jalen Ramsey's not there. He said, Cater for us. He's like a Swiss Army knife. As you know, he can play both inside and outside. So he'll have a step up for us. I'm very confident he will because when he's healthy, he's good, competitive, tough player. So with him, that's how we viewed him this year. As one of the guys that has to step up as well is Cam and Storm Duck. All these guys and the people we added here throughout the draft and the post-draft as well. And with Kendall Fuller, was it health reasons or why you moved on? He says, I don't want to get into reasons for that, blah, blah, blah. He actually even says, when talking about Cam Smith, that they're not going to hold his hand anymore. Let me find the exact quote. But they essentially say, we're not going to hold his hand anymore. And he kind of has to get his stuff together because he was a second-round pick. Where is it? Talked about Tua. He said, we have our starting quarterback. It will not be looking at the draft in the first round, but he said he's open to it. I want to find where he said about, we can't hold Cam Smith's hand waiting for him anymore, is what he said about Cam Smith. So which makes sense. It's like, at some point, man, you got to get it. And I think that's a situation that's probably coming down from Anthony Weaver because Anthony Weaver benched Cam Smith as well. So, it's one of those situations where you got to get your stuff together, my man, because this ain't looking good. But that's kind of what he said in a nutshell. He talked about the trade and how it was a mutual thing and he didn't ask for a trade, blah, blah, blah. They're not trading Tyreek unless they can get two first. But on top of that, no, they're not going to trade him. Tua's the starter. Patrick Paul's the left tackle. They'll move around the draft. They want to win just as much, if not more than, blah, blah, blah. He didn't answer much, but it was interesting. It was very, very interesting. And again, something's iffy about this. Now, he wasn't wrong in some things. There are a lot of free agents that are still out there that can grab in the post-draft. June 1st, you'll have cuts, so that might even be an option as well. So there's a lot of things that can definitely happen. But will they, won't they, all that stuff, we will have to find out. Comment below. Let me know what you guys think about what Grier had to say. Was it a lot of nonsense from you? And I will see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow, I think it's on this channel at 7 o'clock. We are doing the starting lineup, me and Reason. So I will see you guys tomorrow. But like usual, stay classy. My friends out.